got some things to cover. And then I want to get into a primer for the draft. Let's talk about it. Dolphins fans, thank you for checking out my channel. I appreciate it. I'm not the biggest YouTuber, so those of you that do come in here and hang out with me and ask questions and give your opinions and give likes, and that's awesome. So thank you very much. I apologize, as you noticed probably in the last video, my voice was a little hoarse and scratchy, and it's still that way. I've got a little bit of a cold and it's messing with me, but I wanted to cover a couple of little notes that I had, things that have been happening for the Dolphins the last few days, and I want to get into a brief primer for the draft. And not just the draft, but the combine. And so we can kind of have an idea of what we should be looking at and what we should be looking for. I've touched on needs and stuff like that already. But this one's more of a, here's our draft order, and here's what's going to kind of be available in those places, what positions we should be looking for at each pick. So we're going to gear up for this and get closer and closer as we get to draft day. I'll have some specific players that we need to be looking at. But at this point, looking at certain specific players, it's kind of hit or miss. Things are going to change, and it's not really advantageous quite yet to start narrowing down to certain players that I would like to get. I do have some in my mind, of course. I mean, I'm a football fan, and I love football in college just as much as I love the NFL. So this is always an exciting time of year for me, and I can't wait to get into this. I did want to give a shout out to my two youngest kids. Gabriel, he's about to be 16 years old, and my youngest daughter Emmy, she's 9. They both just did their first archery tournament for Golden North Archery here in Alaska, and my youngest daughter won the children under 12 years old age bracket, and she's 9 years old, and she got first place. Pretty freaking cool. And my almost 16-year-old boy Gabriel, he got second place in that tournament for the adults, and I won it. So the only person that he didn't beat in that tournament was me, and that's pretty cool. I was actually hoping that he would beat me, but he just came a little short, but still an amazing performance by both of them, and I wanted to give them their credit. So good job for them. Becoming very, very proficient archers, and I couldn't be more proud of each of them. So I also have the state archery 5-spot tournament coming up here in a week and a half, and I'll be competing in that as a state ranked archer, and I'm super excited for it. So wish me luck, say a prayer, hopefully that turns out well, and let's get into some of this football stuff now. We did have another addition to our coaching staff, and it's been mentioned, I'm sure you guys all know about it, but I wanted to talk about it anyways because I haven't yet. Bobby Slowick has been hired as the Dolphins pass game coordinator. Now, the pass game coordinator used to be kind of bunched into another position with the QB coach, and now it's not like that anymore. So the way this is going to work out is, I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to breathe. I'm actually pretty okay with this decision. I like this hire a lot, and I'll kind of explain why. Bobby Slowick, he is the new pass game coordinator for Miami. He's worked previously with Mike McDaniel for 5 years in San Francisco, or 4.5 years in San Francisco, and a couple years in Washington, and when they were both assistants. So they have some experience with each other. They work well together, and I'm encouraged by that. Also, Bobby Slowick's brother already works for the Miami Dolphins as our defensive backs coach, and that's Ryan Slowick. So now we have Bobby and Ryan both working with the team. Pretty cool. Now, so the way this works now is we have Bobby Slowick as our pass game coordinator. We have Coach McDaniel as obviously as the head coach. We have Darrell Bevel as the QB coach. And if you'll notice, all three of those players now have a lot of the same experience. They all work well together. They've all gotten along. They've been working together for a long time. And with that, Bevel has offensive coordinator experience. Slowick has offensive coordinator experience. And I feel like having those two working under Mike McDaniel with Mike McDaniel, I'm not saying some people think that this is going to be a situation where they're going to actually force McDaniel to give up play calling now because of the players or the coaches that are behind him. I don't really think that's true. I mean, it's possible, but it's not anything that I think is going to happen. I do think that having Slowick on the team as the pass game coordinator is going to do nothing but help Mike McDaniel. I feel like it's a good move in that now there are two coaches underneath Mike that have play calling experience, and they'll be able to help Mike McDaniel move along. Now, the reason I think they'll actually be able to help, and Mike McDaniel won't tell them just to go straight to hell the first time they try to say anything to him, is because they've worked together before, and they all get along very well. I think this is going to be a good situation for Miami, and I think it's going to give Mike McDaniel just another venue to a sounding board to bounce things off of. So I think it's a good thing. Slowick has had a really great season last year, not the year we just finished, but the one before that. The last year that he just finished with Houston, there was a lot of issues. Now I don't blame him for that. I think he's still a really good offensive coordinator, and I think it's a blessing for Miami in disguise that we get to have him where he takes an actually a step back in the ranking scheme of coaching to be with Miami. We need to be grateful for that. I'm happy for it. I'm excited. This isn't like something that makes me think, oh, we're going to be great. But this is encouraging to me to have this happen. So, and I think you guys should be encouraged by it too. Allow that. And we'll see how that goes. It could end up being some kind of a group effort in play calling now. We have so many people that are qualified to do it. I think it'll help. Like I said, Bobby Slowick is he's not the greatest offensive coordinator in the world, but he has good qualifications, and he's well liked by his players. He doesn't take a lot of BS either, so I think that's going to help out with Miami as well. He's a good addition. Let's look at that. Let's look at the career of Bobby Slowick, just, so we have something to look at. Let's see. Started off with the Washington Redskins in 2011 to 2013. He was a defensive assistant there. That's where he worked with Mike McDaniel for a couple years. Mike McDaniel was an offensive assistant at the same time. San Francisco 49ers, he went there in 2017 to 2018 as a quality control coach for the defense. Then he switched over to offense in 2019 to 2020. He was an offensive assistant, and he stayed with San Francisco, took a promotion as the offensive pass game specialist in 2021. Then in 2022, took another promotion and became the pass game coordinator for the 49ers in 2022. Then he moved to Houston and went as their offensive coordinator, another promotion from 2023 to 2024. And then he was let go, and Miami picked him up right now. So he has qualifications. He has a lot of experience. And I do, as an offensive coach, I love the fact that he has defensive coaching experience as well. Believe it or not, that actually, I feel like that'll help him a lot as he continues his offensive coaching career. Having a little experience on the defensive side of the ball, it's big. So that's what we're looking at for Bobby Slowick. And like I said, be encouraged. It's not a bad decision at all. It's a good hire. It doesn't make us over the top with our coaching, but it definitely makes our coaches look a lot better. And it gives a little more of a sounding board for Mike McDaniel, like I said. So I think that's a good thing. We should be encouraged by that. And now it's time for the latest episode of Reek Speak. I'm not doing videos for Tyreek anymore. I'll add sections in for things that he does and says because it happens all the freaking time. But I'm not doing any more specific videos for Tyreek Hill. It's too much. Way too much. There's been a couple things that happened on Radio Row during the Super Bowl. And Tyreek did say, he said he wants to come back to Miami. He realizes that he's got to take ownership for what he said. He shouldn't have said what he said. He apologized to everyone. And for what it's worth, it does seem like he means it. But I mean, at the same time, it just seems like stuff like this happens all the time with him. And I'm not hating here. I don't think he's going to end up getting traded, but that's what happened. He did, apologize. He did say he shouldn't have said what he said. He did say that he's got to own what he said, and he knows it was wrong, and he does want to stay with Miami. He's excited about playing next year, and that's a good step. I'll say that, and it's a good first step. But like I said, Tyreek needs to be perfect off the field from here on out. He can't keep messing up. And there's a lot of rumors, Miami front office has said that they don't intend on trading Tyreek Hill. And I believe that they don't intend on it. However, during some of those interviews on Radio Row, some of his buddies that he was with, I'm not sure, can't remember who it was, and I don't want to, venture a guess, but someone that was with him, they were talking to some people, and they were joking about him getting traded to the Patriots, and Tyreek was like, "Oh, that's never going to happen. I don't ever want that to happen." And as you should say as a Miami Dolphin, you should never say, "Oh, that would be a good idea." So he said that was not a chance of that happening, but he did express in a weird roundabout kind of way that he was kind of interested in a Dallas Cowboys trade. And I'm not going to give any credibility to it because I don't really know. I'm not going to say one way or the other. But I did think it was kind of weird, after he just said, "Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I want to be a Miami Dolphin." Then he acted kind of intrigued when someone brought up Dallas Cowboys. And then when he was walking out from an interview, someone, one of his posse that he was with, I can't remember who it was, but he turned around and he said, "Better watch out for Los Angeles, the Chargers." Okay. So apparently Tyreek Hill, according to everywhere on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, Tyreek Hill is going to get traded to either the Dallas Cowboys or the Los Angeles Chargers. There. I said it. Is it going to happen? No, it's not going to happen. I doubt it. If it does, I'm not going to say it won't, but I doubt it's going to happen. I'd say 5% chances of that happening. But if it does, we better get a lot of compensation. That's all I got to say. And they better eat up some of that contract because it's going to hurt us otherwise. That's why I don't think Miami's going to let him go. So, with that ends today's episode of Reek Speak. Thank goodness. Let me get this thing off my screen. Holy cow. Okay. We're better. That's over. Moving on. Good grief. Freaking Tyreek Hill. Man, you guys, he's got to chill. He's got to find some chill. If he puts half the effort that he puts into being a troll and all these interviews and stuff, he puts half that effort into onto the field, unstoppable again. I'm telling you. So, hopefully, I'd like to see him get along, and I'd like to see him stop with all the off-field stuff and return to what he was a year or two ago. We'll see. We'll see what happens. If he gets traded, oh well. If he doesn't get traded, great. I mean, at this point, I'm so hemming and hawing on it. I just don't know what to think. So that's where I'm at, and I know a lot of you are feeling the same way. Let him go. If he stays, hopefully he stays out of trouble. If we trade him, hopefully somebody takes up some of his salary cap, and that's it. But let's talk a little bit about this draft. Now, big draft for Miami. And I love the draft. I'm so excited. Like I said, this is just the beginning of it, and I'm going to get really into depth here as we move closer to the combine and even closer towards the draft here this offseason. And for now, this is just a primer. It's just talking about a little more organized view of what we need, what we have in the draft coming up, and we're going to get to it. So I'm going to pop this list up. And this list is going to show our draft orders and where we have our picks, and it's going to show what I think we should be looking for at each order of that draft. Now, I went and looked at the big board and I compared it to other big boards and kind of got a gist of where a lot of these players are ranked and where they're going to kind of fall. And we kind of have an idea of how we should run this draft. Now, this is how NFL teams do it. They start with this, and as it moves closer, they start filling in names and interest, and that's how it goes. So here's where we're at right now and what I see. I see round number 1. My face is hidden. Aw, bummer. There I am. Okay, that's better. Round number 1. We have pick 13 in the first round. And I think that if we stick with that and we don't trade that pick away to get more picks, if we stick with that pick and we don't trade picks around, if this is what our draft board looks like, 10 picks, I think that first draft pick should be nothing but an inside defensive lineman, a nose guard, a big old tackle, a space taker-upper, a beast. That's what we need. And there's a couple really good ones that are going to be around in that 12 to 18 draft pick area. And that's why I feel like they're not going to last much longer than that if they do. So if one of those guys is available, and I'll get into the names and stuff in a different episode, this is just a primer, getting us ready for what we should be looking for. Round 1, pick 13 should be an interior defensive lineman. Nothing else. That should be the only thing we're looking for there. Everything else that we have a need for, they're going to be available at later points during this draft, for sure. And the fact that these really good inside defensive linemen, these really, really good ones, aren't going to be around after this first round, that's why we need to take one there. And there's a few of them. Whatever is there, we need to take him. Have to. This cannot be a best player available situation. This needs to be interior defensive lineman right there. Round 2, our second pick is pick 48. Now here, this is where we're going to start looking at offensive guards or tight ends. So for round 2, pick 48, and round 3, pick 98. It can only be offensive guard or tight end. And so if we take an offensive guard in round 2, then we better take a tight end in round 3. Because after round 3, the tight end selection is going to drop. There's not going to be much there after that. There might be some tight ends, but nothing really, really good. And I feel like right around pick 40 to pick 105, somewhere in there, there's going to be a few tight ends that we're going to have available to us. And we need to jump on one, either in the round 2 or round 3. Everybody knows that we need a tight end and a good blocking tight end. We need one. We better take him there because there's not going to be much after that point. So if we take a tight end in round 2, we better take an offensive guard in round 3. This is when that first cream of the crop for offensive guards is going to be coming off the board. So right around there is when our offensive guard selecting needs to start. And it needs to start between round 2, 3, and 4. And like I said, 2 and 3, it needs to be an offensive guard and a tight end. Has to be one of those two in both of those rounds. So it could flip-flop, but it needs to be one of each. Then in round 4, pick 115, definitely has to be an offensive guard or an offensive tackle, but it needs to be one of the two. And bonus points if they can grab a tackle that actually has some ability to swing for guard or swing for center. This is that position where our 115 pick could be picking that swing offensive lineman that can play multiple positions and be a quality backup. I really think that's where we need to look there. Round 4, pick 135. Right around this point is when you're going to see some really good safeties start to come off the board. They're not going to be taken much earlier than this, but we could get a really great safety at around pick 135. According to the big boards, if you look at the averages between the top 3 big boards, there's about 5 or 6 safeties that are going to come off the board between 130 and 140. And they're good safeties. So if we could grab one there, that would help out a ton with one of our biggest needs on defense. Round 5. Now, before I continue on with round 5, if you'll notice, and if you look at all those things that I say we should grab, those picks, if they followed this design, it would cover just about every need we have on the team before we even hit before we even hit free agency. Just doing the draft alone, this would cover almost every need. Almost. We would still need to dip into free agency for 2 or 3 things. But not bad. Not bad. So pick round 5, pick 151. Needs to be an offensive tackle or a center. Like I said, it's not just about getting enough linemen to be starters. It's about getting offensive linemen and depth at the offensive line position. Getting players that could play swing positions. And this is where we should be looking to do that. Right about the midway point of the draft. And that's why you'll see I have offensive tackle or center for our 151 pick. Later on in round 5, we have pick 156. It's only a few ways down. And I really think this is where we should bolster our interior defensive line by drafting another defensive lineman here or going with another safety. We are going to need safety, and we're going to need some depth there too because all we have is Cameron Good. So we're going to need a safety. I think this is a good place to grab one. Or an interior defensive lineman. There's going to be a few around. This is kind of like right around round 5 is where we have the second slew of interior defensive linemen according to the rankings. And I think that would be a good place to snag one of those as well. So either a safety or an interior defensive lineman at pick 156. Skip round 6. That might change. We might end up with a 6th round pick or or another 2nd round or 3rd round because if we trade pick 1, that's going to give us a lot more picks. But we'll see what happens there. For now, we go straight to round 7, pick 226. It's got to be a safety again, or this would be a great place to snag a tall wide receiver. It's got to be a tall, big one. Can't be another 5'9" receiver, but if there should be now. If you go look at the big boards, you're going to see it. There should be a large wide receiver around that place. There's a bunch, and they're all going to be hanging around right around that 220 to 235 range. So wide receiver or safety there. Pick 233. This is where I think we should start thinking about picking up a couple linebackers. But so this one's going to be a linebacker or a safety. If we get a wide receiver in pick 226, then we should be getting a safety in pick 233. It's that simple. Like this is one of those things where it says linebacker or safety. Well, then if we take a safety, that linebacker should be picked up in the 7th round at 252. And that should be our linebacker pick. Or if we grab the linebacker at 233, and at the end of the draft, we should be looking for a corner or a QB. If we play this draft right, by the time we get to our 7th round, we could have the freedom to grab a quarterback. And if we grab a quarterback, that would be good. Somebody we could develop behind Tua. Let him learn a little bit. And go for a QB that has the arm strength if you want. There's going to be a couple around. This isn't really the biggest draft for quarterbacks. But like I said, every other year, you should grab a quarterback out of the draft. It doesn't have to be the top 1, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th rounders. It can be a 7th round pick. There are quality quarterbacks that come out of the 7th round. It's not super common, but you should always take a stab at it. There's also a couple good corners near the end of the draft. You could grab a corner. We have availability to do that. So, looking at this draft, our first 4 picks, let's go first 5. Our first 5 picks, if I had my way and I could do it myself, it would be an interior defensive lineman on the 1st round pick. It would be a tight end in the 2nd round pick. It would be offensive guard in the 3rd round pick. And it would be offensive guard in the 4th round pick. And in the 2nd, 4th round pick, it would be a safety. So interior defensive lineman, tight end, offensive guard, safety. First 5 picks. We've just addressed a ton of issues with Miami. The real important issues, not the ones that people say on Facebook or Twitter, but the real issue. Offensive line, interior defensive line, and tight end. Why tight end? We have Johnny Smith. Well, I've explained it a million times. Think about it. We need a blocking tight end. Someone to go big formation. Someone to beef the offensive line up and assist with blocking when it needs to happen. Situational tight end. Someone who's good. someone who might have a little bit of hands, but that's not the reason we have them there. We want them there to make a difference and an impact in the game immediately in their first year. First game of the season, the rookie tight end comes out and makes a difference by blocking. Old school football. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this is the blueprint that we should follow. Not the eye candy blueprints and stuff that you see everybody posting. Oh, look at my draft picks that I made for my mock draft. Not that crap. First of all, everybody knows that the mock draft is just stupid until about a week or so before the draft. It doesn't even make sense. There's no way. But what we can do for now is look at position availability and look at the rankings in the draft for position availability. And looking at that, that's how I developed this list. Please, I want to know what you guys think. Tell me what you think about it. Take a look at my list. Go look at the big boards on ESPN or wherever else you want, because they're all pretty close to the same. Go look at the big boards and tell me what you think about this ranking. Look at the players that are available that I suggested, like say, go to round 1 and look at the interior defensive linemen that are going to be available from say pick 10 to pick 20. And you'll see why I said interior defensive line at pick 13, because after about the 25th pick in the NFL draft, the really beastly interior defensive linemen are all going to be gone. So if we wait till the second round to get an interior defensive lineman, we're going to be picking them way too early because they're looking at like their 5th round picks at best, the rest of them. So tell me what you guys think. Comment, subscribe, like, share, all that stuff. Save a puppy by sharing my channel. I don't know if that's true, but maybe a puppy will get saved because of it. I like puppies. You just like puppies too. You guys, puppies are cute. Come on. How dare you not like puppies? Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. It's going to be a crazy off season. So the best we can hope for is keeping our eyes on the prize and focusing on the things that we actually need. Fans, players, coaches, owners. Please, Chris Greer, please tell me that your draft board looks something like this. Your needs list needs to look something like this. I guarantee you, if we draft something close to this list, we're going to be in good shape for next year. Guaranteed. I don't care what player we pick in each of these spots. As long as they follow this order, we'll be all right. Promise you. It seems so easy to me. I do appreciate each and every one of you for watching this channel. Thank you again. Everybody have a great rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. I hope to have a video out here pretty soon again. Some things are supposed to start happening. This next week or so is going to be kind of slow. Because it's a dead period. Tampering and free agency will start soon. Another month, I think. About a month. Until then, until the next video, thanks for watching. Fins up. Stay hopeful. And draft smart.